I think it's crazy the generational streak Chapter 7 has been on. Out of the 3 seasons we've gotten so far, I wouldn't say any of them are bad. I mean, the worst one here is like a 6 out of 10 season, which will make more sense when you watch the Runners retrospective next week. But a chapter isn't 3 seasons long, it's 4. Sometimes 5 or maybe even 6. But what we know is that this is probably the final season of Chapter 7. Meaning, Chapter 7 could go down as probably the best chapter ever, without a single bad season, as long as Chapter 7 Season 4 Override is good. So now that it's been around 2 or so days since the season launched, is Fortnite Chapter 7 Season 4 Override good? I mean, yeah, it's pretty solid. However, of course, this season is not perfect. There are things about this season that are good, and there are the other things. So with that, let's get into Fortnite Override in the first, 48 hours or so, to see how this season stands up to the rest of Chapter 7. I think after last season, the best place to start for Season 4 is how this season handles the sprites. After last season made Epic a fucking $1 billion thanks to these creatures, it was pretty obvious they were gonna stay this season. And this time around, every sprite we got last season is now unusable, and we got a brand new set of so retro creatures to interact with. It feels like this season, sprites are a lot more useful and serve as things you can actually use in gameplay. While last season, it felt like only really 3 sprites were actually useful, and the rest of them were just nice little buffs. Each sprite here feels like there's an actual reason to take it, and almost every sprite feels good in its own way. Instead of having abilities like having the chance to get an item when you search a chest, you have more gameplay focused abilities this time around, like granting you the kill switch effect whenever you aim in the air, reloading your guns when they're not equipped, and giving you a double jump, because we haven't learned a thing from Shock and Awesome. The sprites this season are starting to feel more like mini medallions than they are boons. Last season, these things were just little perks, and a few of them were recycled boons. But this time around, we're getting recycled medallion abilities. These things are getting more powerful, and whether that's a good thing or not is up for you to decide. I do think overall, however, this is a good change to sprites. I do like using the more powerful sprites now that they actually feel useful. And so far, aside from one of them, these things really don't feel that overpowered to the point where you need to take it to win a game. They're just more abilities for you to mess with. And if sprites stay that way for the rest of the season, that's not bad. I think there are 3 sprites that I want to highlight. Those are the Sonic Sprite, the Crown Sprite, and the Tail Sprite. The Sonic Sprite makes you go really fast. Like Sonic, because Sonic goes really fast. It's the thing from the games. It's the thing. Oh, I get that. That's a good reference. The Sonic Sprite works similarly to the Air Sprite, but it removes the big jump and instead lets you go even faster. Instead of getting a bigger jump at each level, you go even faster, making you overall go a lot more Sonic speed. Meaning, this is a fun sprite. More movement speed is always great to have. Once you get to the higher levels, this can also just be a mobility item. You don't need to take a mobility item, because you have the Sonic Sprite. And I think that's pretty solid. The Crown Sprite does absolutely nothing. You level this sprite up by winning matches, and when you max it out, you get the sprite's variants. Now do it again. It's a cool concept for a sprite, but I feel like they're missing the part where the sprite actually does something in gameplay instead of just looking cool. Like, the entire point of this sprite is just to flex that you have it. That's it. That's a kind of dumb sprite. And then, the Tail Sprite needs to be shot out back. I'm calling it now. This sprite is going to be Hoverjets 2.0. The Tail Sprite will let you fly around in the air, going up for a while before slowly floating back down. And I do mean slowly floating back down, because the Tail Sprite just lets you float in the sky pretty much forever, and you're allowed to beam players from above, almost killing them before they even get a chance to realize you're in the sky. And this wouldn't be a problem if the flight didn't last for so long. This thing lasts for a solid minute before it runs out. But you think you're done yet? You think you're done? There's no cooldown. You could just go back up in the sky and do it all again. You fly back up, you fall down. You jump, boom, you can fly right back up. This is not a well-balanced item. If anything, this Sprite should have let you float for like 10 seconds and then the cooldown would go down with each level. But instead, we pretty much just have infinite flight, while allowing you to use your weapon and continue to shoot players in the sky. And I don't think this would be that big of a problem if it wasn't for the season's loot pool having one clear problem, which is my transition to talking about the season's loot pool. Once again, this season has a completely different loot pool from any other season in Chapter 7. Why? There was literally no point in changing everything in the loot pool again, after you've already done that 2 other times this chapter. Sure, last season's loot pool was far from great, but now instead of trying to fix the problems of that loot pool, swapping out items people didn't like with better alternatives, you're just making a new loot pool with new problems, instead of trying to evolve the loot pool you already made. It just removes the continuity in between seasons of the chapter, when we get tons of new weapons just for the sake of having new weapons, and then removing items just for the sake of removing items. Just look at the shotguns this season. The Striker Pump, Maven Auto, and Extending Focus were all removed for no reason, and then replaced with another pump and another auto shotgun. With the Extending Focus not even being replaced, it was just removed for the sake of being removed. Even if items just don't have a replacement, they'll just remove items for the sake of making a new loot pool instead of having some continuity in between seasons. This season would have been great to have the Extending Focus in, but no, we can't have a gun from last season in the loot pool. What are you, crazy? It's just really dumb. I don't like it, especially since this season's loot pool isn't really that good. My main problem with the loot pool isn't even the items. All the items feel fine enough. My problems with this season comes with the fact that every item this season feels like it kills you in an instant. We have items like the assault rifle, the tactical pistol, the drum gun, and even the minigun that just hit way harder than they feel like they should. It really feels like you go to 250 health and then you're just dead before you can even find out where you're being shot from. You get caught off guard so much this season, and when you get a chance to react, you're pretty much already one-shot, meaning you have to carry an item like overdrives to guarantee you don't instantly die. This is weird because most items this season are from Chapter 1, but they buffed these things to make it way easier to hit shots without giving it equivalent nerfs in damage, making a lot of kills this season just feel really cheap, when a lot of the times players are dead before they can really fight back and get into combat. You just get beamed so fast this season that you just need to carry a mobility item because your only option is to reposition, heal up, and then try to fight back. That is not good weapon design. Sure, it can be fun to beam players, but trying to fight back when you're already at half health isn't a fun thing to do. When your only option is to run against a gun, that's not good. And it's not just one gun either. It is every single weapon this season. And that's why this pairs really nicely with the tail sprite, because you can just beam players from the sky before they get a chance to react. How do you think that's gonna go when a player's in the sky, beaming from below, and there's almost nothing you can do about it because you're at 50 health with almost no cover? The loot pool this season is so bad that you can even use Sprite Dust to fix it yourself. Okay, the loot pool's not that bad, I just wanted a good transition, okay? Don't get mad at me. This season introduced the new loot hacks, adding an item to the loot pool and letting you level it up to make the item better and more common. These items range from normal stuff like chug jugs and the flare gun, to actual weapons like dual pistols and the Oni shotgun, to new wacky items that you could just add to the loot pool like the minigun and the base boost. Loot hacks are a really cool way to expand the loot pool, and there's tons of items you can add via loot hacks, and if you like them, spend more Sprite Dust to make it more common, and if you don't like them, just don't buy it. It gives an incentive to use the Sprite dust for people who don't care about the sprites, something that was missing last season. And speaking of hacks, we also have the new override mechanic. These are pretty much just rift anomalies. These are just rift anomalies. Overrides can be triggered at the override consoles. One or two of them will be active in a game, and the first person to go there can pick between 3 different overrides to pick. And some of the overrides are really good. Stuff like making your pickaxe one-shot anything, giving you sonic speed, or making your guns shoot insanely fast. These overrides feel really fun to interact with. And of course, right now, there's not going to be a lot because the season just started. But for what we have, these are really fun, and I'm excited to see how they evolve this over the course of the season. And with that, yeah, that's about everything for Season 4. Is this season good? I mean, yeah, it's pretty solid, it's alright. I know I didn't go too in-depth into the season, but this is just the very surface level thoughts into the season. I'll go more in depth to the season when we get the inevitable retrospective, but as for now, I'm just gonna keep on gaming. I gotta beat my high scores somehow after all.